Yeah, I gave it an A. I love Grant Barton. I love the versatility. I think he can play guard. They have an issue there at left guard. They can play center, where they had major problems last year at center.
I'm excited for him. He had the best season of his career, his young career, last season, and he deserved every single penny. And then some.
And then some.
Tampa Bay, welcome on in. Happy to have you. I have a couple of questions that I got to ask the Tampa Bay Buccaneers faithful. But first, before we get into any of these questions, I just got to let you guys know the amount of players that you guys drafted that I genuinely loved, right? And these were guys who I didn't think in their respective position was getting enough hype or enough buzz or enough even exposure to the general public, because I'm just like, yo, we'll get into the players later. But I got some questions for you. First thing is, how do you think you did in the draft? I think you guys got a very versatile offensive lineman that we'll discuss. I think you guys picked up a receiver that I really, really like, and then a backup running back who's going to be, in there when Rachaad White is out. There's a lot of talent that you guys added that I really, really love. But how were you feeling day one of the draft when you guys picked up a guard? And then how did you feel waking up Sunday morning and you saw all of the picks that you guys were able to snag? So let me know what you think in the comments about that. But the other question that I have for you guys, it's not a thing of, Baker Mayfield, if he doesn't do well, we want to get rid of him. Or Baker Mayfield, if he does this, then we'll extend him. I want to know from the Buccaneers fan base, knowing that you won a Super Bowl, 3-4 years ago? I can't really remember at this point in time anymore. It's just a big blur after a few years. And then after you won the Super Bowl, after you do all these things, what is the standard for Tampa Bay? Because until Tommy got there, we really didn't respect, understand, or even hold any fire truly to Tampa Bay Buccaneers as an organization. When Jameis Winston was there and he had that incredible 30 for 30 season, what's the standard for Tampa Bay? Is it just making the playoffs? You guys went 9-8 last year. Baker beautifully did a lot of great things the right way at the right time to get the win over the Eagles. Is that the standard? Just, getting past the first round? Does Baker lose his job making the playoffs again and getting kicked out first round next year? Does Baker lose his job if he doesn't go to the Super Bowl? I want to know what's the standard for Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield for him to be the, a long-term option for you guys. He's only 28 years old. He's still not even hitting his 30-year-old prime yet. There's a new 30-year-old prime, engine that gets started when you hit that wall. And so he could be on the precipice of hitting another maturation point. So I want to know about that. And another big thing, because last year, you guys remember every single week, all the BS I would get necessarily for, standing up for the Bucs. And I'm saying, I'm riding with Baker. Baker's the guy. The Buccaneers are a good team. And even all the way up until that playoff game, I felt very confident that the Eagles were going to lose that playoff game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It just did not seem, from a physicality match point and just how the launch point of where the Buccaneers were headed and where the Eagles were headed, the conjunctures weren't really adding up. And so I was like, yeah, Buccaneers are going to beat the Eagles. Dave Canales, right? Dave Canales, I genuinely believe is a favorite quarterback, but after him, it is actually Baker Mayfield. He's my second favorite quarterback in the NFL. I'm an OU fan. I just, love everything about the kid. He's got the moxie, he's got the charisma, and he goes out there and he just balls. Dave Canales, I think, was a huge part of it. A huge part of the successes of Geno Smith when he was in Seattle. And when he was in Seattle with Geno Smith had a surprisingly amazing year, and Geno Smith got paid the next year. But as you saw in this past season, when Geno Smith didn't have Dave Canales, he looked kind of normal. More kind of like normal Geno. And I say that to say, Baker had Dave Canales last year. And Dave Canales was able to do things with Baker so poetically. And you hear Baker, it was in an interview. He said, I believe it was at Pro Bowl weekend. He didn't know if he was going to stay in Tampa Bay before he didn't know if he was going to get traded. He didn't know about his future in Tampa Bay because of Dave Canales. Like, he vocalized this. And so, guys, I'm not saying, like, you know, things are going to go bad because you don't have him in the building, and Dave Canales, that is. But I'm just asking, are you concerned? Is this something that people really aren't really talking about enough? Is this something that I genuinely believe this when offensive coordinators leave and quarterback coaches leave, and that quarterback and that offense doesn't look the same the next year, people automatically try to downplay the player and downplay the team and say they're bad. It's like, no, they're not bad. They just got to learn something new. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about Baker and his future. Dave Canales leaving. Let's get into this draft real quick, though. Graham Barton, such a crazy great pickup. And I think he was getting consistently mocked to you guys in the last 3 weeks. I would want to say last 3 weeks, maybe a month before the actual draft. He was being very beautifully, you know, being considered to be y'all's pick because, you know, you got Ryan Jensen. He's a Super Bowl, you know, the injuries kept stacking up and stacking up and stacking up. And if you can get better at the position, that's a very important position. You know, the center position, it's not valuable unless you have a legitimate piece to make it worth the value. And I think that's what Graham Barton does. You know, he has a lot of experience playing that center position. That's what he did in his freshman season, I believe, at Duke. And you see him really hold on to that left tackle position those last few years when he was at Duke. So it's given him a crazy amount of versatility. I know you all have heard about his versatility, and that's what makes him great. Jalen McMillan. I just need to really harp on this kid because I don't like how a player can be so phenomenal as he is. But when you have a Rome Odunze on your roster, and you have Jalen Polk also on your roster, and then you have an amazing quarterback and Michael Penix on your roster, and you have offensive linemen and defensive linemen, and everyone just looks so great. You kind of get lost in the weeds. And I'm not saying Jalen McMillan is about to be Justin Jefferson. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that LSU roster was talking about Jamar Chase a lot, was talking about Joe Burrow a lot, and when you just have all that talent on one roster, the actual beauty in the disguise of talent, it gets lost in the weeds. And I think Jalen McMillan, who is fast, he can run every route in the route tree. He has great ability. Go up and get a ball. Go ahead and snag one for you. I really, really like what Jalen McMillan is going to be able to bring to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But Bucky Irving, first of all, the name Bucky, that being your name, it's a beautiful one in itself. But I also love how Rachaad White and him are just going to be able to beautifully complement each other. I think they're going to look like twins out there. I think they run very similarly. I think they have this ability to kind of glide when they get right between the tackles, and when they're running the ball, they have this ability to really get into their high gear quickly. And I love that. And their change of direction, I think Bucky is going to really learn a lot and really become a great player because he has Rachaad White as his running back, you know, mentor, I guess, for the short term. And Rachaad White is he's a young player himself. So he's going to be able to, you know, make Bucky Irving that much better. So guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Please don't forget. I need your input. How did you feel about the draft right after it all happened? I need to know, are you worried whatsoever about the whole Dave Canales leaving the building situation? Please let me know in the comments, and do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.